Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7. I'm Syarmila and my partner are Suci Aminah and Tasya Rahma Anisa. We will present the material about learning environment and instructional activities. The first presenter will be explained by me, developing instructional interaction and events. The instructional designer recommends specific activities based on the information gathered, draft needs, text and learner analysis, and draft the development of goals and objectives. This process is similar to how a medical doctor might prescribe treatment for a patient after forming a diagnosis. In fact, the activities an instructional designer recommends are sometimes referred to as prescription. As an example of instructional design in action, consider how school teachers incorporate activities into their instructional design. Teachers in elementary and secondary school setting typically develop daily lesson plans that are divided into 5 parts: background, goals, objective, activities, and assessment. Teaching the way we were taught. People aim to teach as they themselves were taught or in a manner that supports their preferred learning style. Almost everyone who has attended high school or college has experienced a common method of instruction that includes the assignment of reading in advance chapters from a textbook, for example, a presentation by the course instructor, the assignment of a paper that synthesizes the information from the reading and the presentation, and preparation for a test on the same material. Learning environments. A learning environment is the milieu in which the instructor, the content, and the learner are placed. More than just a physical setting, a learning environment is shaped by the type of instruction that needs to occur, and it is influenced by the attitude and preference of those who organize and operate that environment. For perspective on the design of learning environment, the first, learner-centered environment, the second, knowledge-centered environment, the third, assessment-centered environment, and the last, community-centered environment. Directed and open-ended learning environment. Hannafin, Land, and Oliver, 1999, described two types of learning environment: directed and open-ended. A directed learning environment is one in which the instructional designer has determined specific learning objective and prescribed structured activities in which participants demonstrate that they have learned by meeting the objective. An open-ended learning environment differs from a directed learning environment in that the learning goals and or the method of pursuing those goals are determined in one of two ways. The first, presenting the learner with a complex problem along with a specific task to complete. The second, presenting the learner with a complex problem to explore with no specific task to complete. The third, helping the learner articulate a personalized problem to be solved or explored. Directed and open-ended learning environment each have their strengths, including directed learning environment, namely, content is broken down and taught in increments. Detection and mastery of specific concept is simplified. Structured teaching learning strategies are used. Learning is promoted through specific activities and practice. Internal learning is activated by carefully directing external conditions. Mastery is achieved by producing correct responses. An open-ended learning environment, namely opportunities are set up for students to manipulate, interpret, and experiment. Concepts are linked to everyday experience. Information is explored by looking at the big picture. Flexible understanding is encouraged, and appreciation for multiple perspectives is fostered. Learning is promoted by supporting the individual learner's personal connection to the material. Cognition and context are linked, and the importance of understanding through trial and error is stressed. Difference between passive reception and active participation. Passive reception, namely presentation, lecture, performance, and active participation, namely simulation and games. Timing: the student must keep up with the pace set by the activity. Passive reception, namely displays, textbook, static website, bulletin board, and dioramas. And active participation, namely problem-based learning. Timing: the student may process at his or her own pace. The difference between direct or expository teaching and indirect teaching. The first, direct teaching, places the instructor in the center of all activity. The instructor presents specific information and decides exactly what students will do and when they will do it. Direct teaching is most commonly employed in directed learning environment. The second, indirect teaching, places the instructor in a more peripheral position during learning activities. The instructor offers support and guidance while students approach and assign problems in the ways that seem best to them. Next presenter will be explained by Tasya, Rahma, Anisa.
Okay, I will explain the next slide. Is about instructional activities. Instructional activities are the experiences designed to help students learn. These are the interaction and events in which people participate to gain new knowledge, skill, or insight. Next, problem-based learning. Problem-based learning (PBL) activities are open-ended learning according to Hanafi at 1990. Any open-ended learning environment should include four components to support the learners. The first, enabling context, articulated perspective that influence how the approach are planned and research are interpreted. The second, research a range of source, print, electronic, human, that provide information about the problem. And the third, tools, the means for engaging and manipulating research and ideas. The fourth, scaffolding processes supporting visual learning efforts. And the next is stimulation and games. Learning through stimulation has long been part of human experience. Simulation are in essence involving case studies that allow participants to examine issues and problems that arise in specific situations. Gradually 24. Instructional games. Instructional games are a subset of instructional simulation. A game is an activity in which participants abide by specific rules as they strive, often competing against others, to achieve a specific goal. Smaldino, Lawler, and Russell, 2012. And the next, just-in-time teaching. Just-in-time teaching or just-in-time instruction is currently a popular concept among educators. It's a strategy whereby direct instruction is provided based on the immediate needs, experience, or indicated by students during a lesson or week period. Research support for instructional practice. They proposed viewing the research on teaching practice on 3 research levels: basic, comparative, and evaluative. Level 1, basic, is pure research conducted in a laboratory setting. Level 2, comparative. Research is designed to test the efficiency of particular programs or instructional methods in educational setting. And level 3, evaluative. Research is designed to determine the efficiency of instructional methods or programs at a much larger level rather than in an isolate educational setting. An educational innovation having makes research support. The educational innovation he analyzed are setting standard, self-esteem, and self-efficiency, brain research, teaching for intelligence, thinking skill programs, whole language learning, curriculum integration, cooperative learning, mastery learning, direct instruction, and assessment. Activities based on proven effective practice. The 9 categories are: number 1, identifying similarities and differences; second, summarizing and note-taking; the third, referencing effort and providing recognition; 4, homework and practice; 5, non-linguistic representation; 6, cooperative learning; 7, setting objective and providing feedback; 8, generating and testing hypotheses; 9, question, cause, and advanced organizer. Identifying similarities and differences. Specific instructional activities that can facilitate this process include example and non-example. The essential instructional strategy activities that explores similarities and differences in the provision of example and non-example. It's not enough to simply describe what something is. And the second, classifying. Classifying requires the organization of various elements, object, or concept according to their similarities. Activities that support skill with classifying include graphic organizer, scatterers, analogies, metaphors, and similarities. And that's all from me. The next material will be... Okay, that's all from me. Back to moderator.
Okay, next continue about activities based on proven effective practice. The next, summarizing and note-taking. Summarizing and note-taking have proven themselves to be highly effective instructional activities for both adolescent and adult learners. Activities that facilitate summarizing and note-taking include the first one, 10 and 2. 10 and 2 is 10 minutes of presentation and 2 minutes of synthesis. The second, reflective writing. Students may be asked to generate a written response to the information presented. Third, reciprocal teaching. In this activity, small groups of students gather together and teach each other the content dictated by the instructional goals and objectives. The last, revising and adding to notes. An effective instructional activity that is often overlooked is the revision of notes taken during presentation. Students work individually or in small groups to revise and add to their notes in order to summarize and synthesize the material. Next, reinforcing effort and providing recognition. Critically important to student success is the belief that effort ultimately enhances achievement. Students who believe in the importance of effort are much more likely to success. Finding ways to recognize and reward effort made is therefore an activity that can increase the efficiency and effectiveness of an instructional design. The first one, pause, prompt and praise. This is an activity that can be extremely important in helping students achieve success, but it is not possible to schedule this precisely into an instructional design. The instructor then offers a prompt. The second, reward and symbols of recognition. Students may receive tokens or small prizes, or they may see their name highlighted in a place of honor. This extrinsic reward do not diminish intrinsic motivation if they are given reward for accomplishing specific performance goals. Next, homework and practice. Research indicates that homework and practice increase achievement and learning. It is also a natural, intuitive assumption that the more one practices, the better one becomes with just about anything. Activities that promote practice include the first one, speed and accuracy reporting. It means requiring students to keep track of their speed and accuracy is a very good idea. The second, homework. Assigning activities to be complete outside of formal class time can extend learning opportunities as well as give students a chance for more practice. And the next, non-linguistic representations. A popular psychological theory known as dual coding, Povio, 1990, suggests that humans store information in two forms, linguistic and imagery. The imagery mode is a combination of mental picture, psychical sensation, touch, taste, and smell, kinesthetic associations, or sounds. The linguistic mode is the one most commonly used to present instructional material through the use of lecture, assigned reading, and question and answer session. However, research indicates that the more people make use of both linguistic and imagery modes, the better they are able to analyze and recall information. Non-linguistic representation include the first one, illustration and animation. Second, graphic organizer. Third, sounds. It means the use of sound effect, non-speech audio, music, background noises can have a profound effect on learners' recall. And the last, kinesthetic representation can help learners interpret and understand information through the sense of touch and movement. Next, cooperative learning is students working together to accomplish tasks and is currently very popular, and there is research to suggest cooperative learning activities are particularly helpful to low and middle achieving learners when the groups consist of heterogeneous combination of low, middle, and high achieving students. All indications are that cooperative learning works best when groups are kept relatively small, 3 or 4 students per group. The best cooperative learning activities are well structured with clearly defined goals and expectations. Because cooperative learning is particularly popular at this time, it is important not to overuse this type of activity at the expense of independent practice and skill development. The next, setting objective and providing feedback. Activities that support setting objective and providing feedback include the first one, contracts. It means a popular activities that support setting personalized learning objective is the student contract. Second, critique session. The instructor, other student or group of students over feedback as to whether the individual or group is accomplishing stage objectives. Group-to-group critique sessions are particularly effective as part of cooperative learning activities. Feedback should be some combination of positive and corrective. Generating and testing hypotheses. Having students make predictions and conduct experiments based on those predictions is a good way to improve student achievement. There are essentially two methods of generating hypotheses: inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is the process of drawing new conclusions from available information. Deductive reasoning is the process of using general rules or heuristics to predict the future action or event. Next, question, cause, and advanced organizers. General rules that apply to all question, cause, and advanced organizer strategies are: the first one, focus should always be on what is important about the topic, as opposed to focusing on what is unusual about the topic. The second, question and cause that require students to analyze information produce more learning than questions that require simple recall. Third, having posed a question, waiting briefly before accepting student response can increase the depth of those response. It means teachers are typically instructed to mentally take a slow 3 count before accepting response for student. That's all for my material. I'm sorry about my mistake. The last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.